بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله أما بعد. Question says أسأله عن حكم نقش الحناء على اليدين أو القدمين بالنسبة للمرأة وذلك للتجميل أمام زوجها أو أمام النساء. I want to know, is it permissible for a woman to put henna on her hands and her feet with regards to a woman doing this for her husband, adorning herself and beautifying herself for her husband, or in front of her girlfriends, other sisters, a party, a walima, aqiqah, a sister's tea party, etc. A sister putting on henna on her hands and her arms and her feet, etc., in front of other women. What's the ruling on this? The answer says, al-jawab, لا بأس بنقش الحناء على اليدين أو القدمين بالنسبة للمرأة إذا كانت تبرزه بين محارمها أو النساء فقط ولا تبرزه على غيرهم من الأجانب. Answer says, there's nothing wrong with a woman getting henna done on her hands and her feet, a woman and not a man, as long as she's going to wear it or show it in front of her mahrams. Her mahrams, meaning the men that she can never marry. Not temporarily, but she can never ever marry. She can't get married to them as a mahram. Or she's going to wear the henna in front of other women. In front of other women. In front of other women. But no one else who's considered to be ajnabi. Ajnabi is the opposite of mahram. A man who can marry her. Either someone who's temporarily haram, such as a brother-in-law. She can't get married to her sister's husband as long as her sister's married to that man. But if her sister was divorced from that man and she went through her iddah, she could marry him. So he's not a mahram. He's not eternally haram for her. Or someone who's just absolutely not a mahram, such as a stranger, someone who isn't a relative, etc. She isn't allowed to wear the henna in front of these people. فهو من الزينة التي ينبغي أن تخفى على الأجانب. The reason why she can't do this is because the henna on her hands and her feet is from the zina. It's from the zina. It's from the beauty. It's from the adornments. It's from the charms that are not supposed to be displayed in front of ajnabis, in front of men who are ajanib, who aren't mahrams. لقوله تعالى, well, the proof for this is, he quotes the ayah from Surah An-Nur, verse 31. Allah says, وَلَا يُبْدِينَ زِينَتَهُنَّ إِلَّا لِبُعُولَتِهِنَّ. Allah says, وَلَا يُبْدِينَ, He says, and the women, the believing, the mu'minat, the believing women, they are not to expose and reveal their zina. Not zina, no, zina with a ta on the end, tarmu with a zina. They're not to reveal their zina, their beauty, their charm, except to their, he says, bu'ulatihinna, their bu'ul, meaning, he says, their husbands, أو آبائهن, or their fathers, أو آباء bu'ulatihinna, or their father-in-laws, the husband's fathers, meaning his father, his grandfather, etc., his great-grandfather, all the way up the ladder. أو أبنائهن, or their sons, أو أبناء bu'ulatihinna, or their stepsons, the sons of their husbands. He has another wife, he was married before he was a Muslim, whatever the case may be, whatever the case may be, the son of the husband. أو إخوانهن, or their brothers, أو بني إخوانهن, or their nephews, the sons of their brothers. أو بني أخواتهن, or the sons of their sisters, also nephews. Obviously, we have paternal, maternal, aunt, uncle, nephew, etc. أو نسائهن, or in front of their women. In front of their women. Different interpretations among the people of knowledge. Nisaihinna, some say it just means women. Others say it means believing women. They're not allowed to show certain things to kuffar women. أو ما ملكت أيمانهن, or that which their right hands possess, meaning a servant, a slave, a male servant or a male slave, certain things that she is allowed to expose to the servant or the slave who's in her house, who works for her, who serves her. أو التابعين غير أولي الإربة من الرجال, or lame men, lame and limp men, meaning impotent men, men that don't have no desire for women whatsoever, whether it's due to impotence or just extreme old age or a mental dysfunction. A man who doesn't like women at all, has no desire for women. أو الطفل الذين لم يظهروا على عورات النساء, or young children who don't yet have a distinction between women. A little small child doesn't really know what's going on yet. I'm not talking about puberty, because when a person reaches puberty, they become a man, become an ajnabi. But a child that's young and they don't have the concept of tall and short, slim and thick, buxom and flat-chested, light and dark. They don't have a distinction of this yet, okay? Yeah, and there are certain children, even before puberty, they understand certain things about women, and they may go back. They go in the masjid on the sister's side, and they come back and they say, I saw Sister Fulana, she's this, or Sister Fulana is that, whatever. They don't have no idea of this. It's allowed to show these things in front of these types of boy children. So that's the end of the quoting of the ayah from Surah An-Nur. The Mufti here, he then says, وقد جاءت امرأة إلى عائشة رضي الله تعالى عنها فسألتها عن خضاب الحناء. Also, a woman one day came to Aisha, or went to Aisha, and she asked her about henna, okay, and dyeing the body, the parts of the body with henna. So Aisha, she said, لا بأس به. She said, there's nothing wrong with it. It's fine. ولكن أكرهه. She says, however, I dislike it. I'm not fond of it. I'm not a big fan of henna. كان حبيبي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يكره ريحه. She said, my husband, literal translation, my loved one, my habib, my lover, meaning my husband, the one whom I loved, he loved me, alayhi salatu wasalam, he didn't like the smell of henna. He wasn't fond of its odor. Rawahu Abu Dawood. Says this hadith has been collected by Imam Abu Dawood in his Sunan. Wallahu A'lam, and Allah knows best. The Mufti who gave this fatwa is Sheikh Muhammad ibn Abdullah As-Subayl, rahimahullah ta'ala, may Allah have mercy upon his soul, who is well known from the Muftis of Mecca and Ta'if. He was well known on the radio programs Nurun al-Darb during his lifetime in the kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So that's the end of the translation of the fatwa, and we tried our best to minimize commentary except for that which was necessary with regards to the translation and understanding it. That's the end of the actual amana of the actual translation. So if we just sit down and critically analyze the fatwa briefly, we find many important points. The first important point is that the Shaykh rahimahullah ta'ala, the Mufti, he clearly said that there's nothing wrong with a woman to adorn herself. That's the first point of meticulously breaking it down. There's nothing wrong with a woman adorning herself and a woman being womanly. And we live in a time in which the natural charm of a woman, people, they're fighting and they're waging war against it. And they try to take a woman from her natural fitrah and try to get a woman to be as manly and rough and tough as possible. And to get a woman to deny the natural charm that Allah Azza wa Jal made her with, how He created her with. Also, the other extreme is to take a woman and to exploit her charm, and just have her just as an object of lust, and that's it, okay? The music industry, makeup industry, fashion industry, shoes, high heels, tight clothes, and the list goes on, okay? Unfortunately, Islam, alhamdulillah, always has the balance that a woman is to be womanly, and she can be fly and as diva as much as she wants to be, as long as it's not against the Kitab and Sunnah. wearing it outside, as long as she's not a slave of the dunya, of a money fiend, a fashion queen in which that's all she thinks about. She has 50 million overgarments in her closet and 500 bags and 100 pairs of shoes and high heels and perfumes and makeup, and so much money and wealth is spent just on material things, and hours are spent standing in front of the mirror. This face cream, this hair, this, that, this, that, this, that, and that's it. Salah, ibadah, her family, her husband, dhikr, Quran, her physical fitness, her health, none of that thing is important except for the zahir. Obviously, that's prohibited as well. And that's also a very sneaky trick of shaitan and a major phenomena. A woman, a sister, she was all black. She was head to toe hijab, okay, outwardly, but inwardly, and we're not just talking about her clothes inside in front of her husband or the sisters, but her heart. Her heart is connected to the dunya, and she's a slave of material possessions and of fashion. That's not permissible either. No. Has to be a balance. There's no specific hadith limiting how many garments you can have. Okay, it's going to be based off of the time and the place where you are, relative. Okay, you live in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania in 2018. It's not like living in Baghdad, in the 3rd century. It's going to be different. Someone who's wealthy is not going to be someone who's poor. It's going to be a difference. However, the concept of a balance. So keep your charm. You can be fly. There's nothing wrong with looking nice and smelling nice and having nice things and being beautiful in front of your husband, in front of your friends. Alhamdulillah. But there's a balance. Don't become a slave of the dunya. Have the possessions in your hand and not in your heart. And the moment that they're taken away from you or stripped from you, you can live, you can survive. All right? And Allah knows we've seen people like this on Hajj, men and women. The moment they didn't get exactly what they wanted, exactly how they wanted it, when they wanted it, how they wanted it, they flipped out. They lost their patience. They start hollering and screaming. And we warned them in the tents. In Mina, it says, don't blow your Hajj, ya akhi, because of the bathroom. Don't blow your Hajj because of the food that you're eating. Don't blow your Hajj because your feet are hurting. Don't blow your Hajj because you can't put this on and put that on and wear that. It's not that bad. It's not that deep. It's only a couple of days of sacrifice. And there were many people, and Allah is our witness, we made Hajj with, that were very wealthy, extremely wealthy people. Okay? Big time surgeons and doctors and lawyers, all types of people. And they were from the most rugged people you'll find. They would wear the sandals, they would make the tawaf, they would put on the ihram, they would suffer and they would walk and sweat just like we were. And they had all types of money with them. And the fact that they didn't get a hot meal, or the fact that they couldn't get a nice, clean, 20-minute steaming, scalding shower, or the fact that the sister didn't have this type of body wash and this type of antibacterial hand wash, and she couldn't wear high heel shoes and this and that, it was no problem. There's no problem. They were rugged. So that's how the Muslim is supposed to be. If I have gold and silver, alhamdulillah. And if I have nothing, if I have wood, alhamdulillah, it's not a problem. I can survive without it, the comfort. I can be rugged and I can have luxury, depending on what Allah gives to me. So there has to be a balance. But it's permissible for a woman to adorn herself. But we said, not in front of the men that are unlawful to her. Not in the street, not wearing tight clothes, not making herself into an object of lust for every single dog in the street. And at the same time, not becoming a slave of the fashion industry inside of the home. There is a balance. Also is mentioned here, he says, عَلَى الْيَدَيْنِ وَالْقَدَمَيْنِ, the hands and the feet. And he did mention other places. Does that mean it's haram to put the henna on other places? Not necessarily. It doesn't mean it's necessarily haram to put it on other places. But that's what's most common among the women of his time in this place. It doesn't mean it's haram for a woman to put henna on other parts of her body. On other parts of her body. And obviously, depending on what type or what part of the body the henna is going to be placed, that's going to determine what can be seen. What is the awrah of a woman in front of other Muslim women or non-Muslim women? That's an issue of fiqh in itself. What is the awrah of a Muslim woman in front of her sister? So let's say, hypothetically speaking, She gets henna on her neck. All right. Can her sister, her aunt, or someone who's not related to her, a Muslim woman at the henna party or at the tea party, she visits her house, can she see her neck? Can she see the henna design on her neck? Or just the hands and the face? All right? Or another issue pertaining to this issue, or a sub issue pertaining to this one, is a henna tattoo. Is it permissible for Muslim women to get henna tattoos? Now, the traditional henna is contrast to a normal tattoo. Even though a person can get a tattoo like that, a sleeve tattoo, but it's a bit different. It's a bit different. And there are different styles of henna, whether it's flowers or like a spider web on the hand, the motifs, the different styles of henna that are traditional. But I'm talking about an actual non-Muslim henna tattoo, which you'll see in certain places. It will fade away, it will go away. Is that permissible? Or is that imitating the kuffar and getting a tattoo? Okay. If it is permissible, then obviously the woman is going to place it on any part of her body, and she can wear that tattoo for her husband's indulgence, her husband's pleasure, to see that part of her body with the henna on it. And just because it's mentioned hands and face doesn't mean that that's the only place that she can get the henna. But as we said, depending where she gets the henna will depend on what or how she can reveal it to others. Okay? Henna on the hands and the face, okay, on her shin, all right? It's not like henna on the small of her back or other places in which she only shows her husband, okay? Also is the concept of if she's going to get a henna tattoo or the traditional Indian henna or Pakistani henna or Moroccan henna, okay, who can put the henna on those parts of her body? Is it permissible for a henna artist to put something on her back, on her neck, or other parts of her body for her husband? Can she reveal herself like that? Similar to the question that was asked with regards to waxing, professional waxing. Can a person get wax? Is it permissible for a woman to show her awrah to another woman, Muslim or non-Muslim? Huh? Those are all fiqh issues that pertain to this. Khairan, inshallah. Moving forward. Also, the importance of knowing the mahram. Who is a mahram and who isn't? Okay. Also, the concept of if you're going to put the henna on your hands and your feet, that's fine, but you cannot go outside of the house based off of this fatwa with your hands uncovered and your feet uncovered. As we said before, so if a woman does not cover her hands and her face, she wears the hijab on her head, her neck, her chest, her legs, etc., but her hands and her face are uncovered, and she wishes to go to a henna party or to put on henna, that's fine. But on that day, she has to wear gloves. She has to wear gloves, or she has to cover her hands with her long khimar. And based off of this fatwa, it's unlawful for her to go outside of the house with henna on her hands in public in front of the people who aren't her mahrams. Khairan, inshallah ta'ala. What's the ruling on if a sister is she's driving herself and she's going from one place to another? Can she put on a henna on her hands? Can she put on perfume? She's in the car. She's going to get out the car and go into the house. What happens if the car breaks down? She gets a flat tire. She gets pulled over by the police. State trooper pulls her over and asks for her license and registration. And her hands are beautifully adorned. And she has on sweet perfume and lotion. Something to be taken into consideration. Khairan, inshallah. Tayyib. Also, the ayah from Surah An-Nur, very important for every Muslim to have a basic understanding of it. And the more understanding you have of it, the better. The more tafsir you read of it and reflection that you make, the better. Why Allah mentioned it like this, and how Allah Azza wa Jal, He started off the ayah, وَلَا يُبْدِينَ زِينَتَهُنَّ. Allah says, and they should not reveal and expose their zina, illa, except for A, B, C, D, E, etc. That's a very important style now. Allah doesn't say they can show their zina to their husbands, to this, to that, and no one else. But Allah, He started off, وَلَا يُبْدِينَ زِينَتَهُنَّ. So this goes to show us, like many things in Islam, we say La ilaha illallah, negating, then affirming. So the asl is negation. The asl is that there's no zina to be exposed. That's the asl. That's the default. And obviously the default is not always going to remain the default, but it plays a huge role in dealing with the different fiqh issues. Is that the asl is a sitr. The different shayateen, the demons among the people today who speak about Islam and talk about Islam, unfortunately, and they wish to just totally barrage, and just attack the whole concept of hijab and to tear it down. Okay, there's no proof in the Quran saying that you have to cover yourself. That's just mentioned in the hadiths. And the hadiths are weak, the hadiths are fabricated, the hadiths are unsure. This one Imam said this, Imam Fulan said that. The interpretation, the Quran doesn't say that. The Quran says dress modestly. Wallahi, I've heard this from my own two ears. The Quran says dress modestly. First and foremost is, if the Quran does say that, but when did you become a scholar of tafsir? When did you become a student of knowledge of tafsir? When did you become an interpreter that's free to your own understanding of the Quran? When? Yesterday? Last week? When did you become a person? Do you even understand the basics of the Arabic language? Alif Bata. You're reading a half-wit translation and making your own tafsir. That's very poor. Okay? So the asl is hijab. So the people that try to come and get the people not to wear hijab, not to cover up, okay, it's all right, you live in America, it's 2018, you live in the UK, you don't have to wear a potato sack. Yeah, I need pants and a loose shirt is fine. Yeah, I need fit in with the people, don't go against the people, don't be shav. Ibn Taymiyyah, Ibn Qayyim said this, don't go against the people, fit in with the people, so on and so forth. And every single fatwa, every single ruling gets further and further and further from the asl. Every time you make a photocopy, it becomes weaker and weaker and weaker. Unfortunately. All right. So the asl is sitr. The asl is not to expose. Then Allah Azza wa Jalla made an exception. Moving forward, this also shows the ease of Islam and the facilitation of this beautiful Sharia, in which there's no hardships, in which these people, the women, are going to come into frequent contact with. If they had to cover up in front of them all of the time, it would be a great hardship. And subhanAllah, look here, even the servant, a male, but the servant who serves her, who does things, she's always in contact with him, so she constantly has to cover up. That's going to be a hardship. All right, and this wisdom is extracted from many texts. From them is the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ regarding the cat, and the cat drinking from one's vessel. He says, إِنَّهَا مِنَ التَّوَّافِينَ عَلَيْكُمْ أَوْ التَّوَّافَاتِ. It's from the people or the things that constantly deal with you and interact with you. You're in frequent contact with them, i.e., it would be a hardship if the cat's mouth was considered to be najis. It would be a hardship if the cat couldn't drink from your bowl or from your gourd, because the cat is always in your house coming and going. So that proves a major qaida in the deen is that when there is a frequent contact with someone or something, that some of the rules are slightened because it becomes a hardship. It becomes a difficulty. Okay? You think about you spend the night over somebody's house. All right? You're the guest of someone. You have your own guest room. All right? It's time to pray, whether you pray with them or pray by yourself at nighttime or fajr, or it's time for breakfast. The way that the brother, we're not going to get to the brother's wife yet, but just the brother for now. The way that he comes and wakes you up or brings you your food is not necessarily the same way that you'll see him outside. He may come with his pajamas on, with his robe on and his slippers. He may have on a short sleeve thobe. He may have on a t-shirt and some basketball shorts. He says, wake up, it's time to eat breakfast, Sheikh, because you're in his house now. I have to put on pants, shirt, a thobe, do this, cover this. That's a hardship. And you're now a frequent person. You're in his house now. He's trusted you to spend the night in his house. His wife and his children in another room. So obviously the interaction is going to be different. Okay? Even his wife, the hijab that she's going to wear may be different. She's serving you breakfast. She serves breakfast. She brings it to the door. She knocks on the door. However they serve it, or whatever the case is. All right? Whether she's in the kitchen, whether she brings it to the kitchen, the different levels, the different practices of the Muslims. The khimar, her arms, it's not the same. And this is all based off of the concept of hardship. And whenever the people go against this basic wisdom, you find them falling into all types of hardships. All types of hardships. When the people go against the basic wisdom, and the sweetness of this wisdom is to make things easy for the people when it's something that they have to come into direct contact with or frequent contact with. And obviously there's a balance in that as well. There's a balance in that as well. Khairan inshallah ta'ala. The ayah, last but not least, it clearly affirms the wisdom behind the hijab, and that is being far from fitna and protecting one's honor and one's chastity and one's shame. Because it mentions that men who don't have the desire for women, men that are lame and limp, young boys that don't know about women, that's the hikmah, is that you're not to reveal yourself in front of these men because men have sexual desire. Men have lust. Men desire women. زُيِّنَ لِلنَّاسِ حُبُّ الشَّهَوَاتِ مِنَ النِّسَاءِ. The very first thing that Allah says is made fair to men is women, is the love of women. Once again, we live in a time in which the people are spending millions of dollars. They're making hundreds and hundreds of movies every year, books, cartoons, TV shows, all types of propaganda to take the people from their natural way. And they try to desensitize the people, and they try to mentally neuter the people, mentally neuter them, and get the man out of the concept of liking a woman. There's nothing wrong with a man and a woman being friends. They don't have to think about each other sexually. That never crosses my mind. She's my friend. We work together. She comes to the office wearing a tight short skirt, pantyhose, 6-inch heels. She has her hair done, lipstick, makeup, earrings. Her blouse is unbuttoned, a tight shirt, a push-up bra. I never think about her sexually. She doesn't think about me sexually. We're in the office together. We laugh, we joke, we eat lunch, we have coffee break, we smoke cigarettes together. There's no such thing. This is a professional workplace. This is how they get the people to think. And then the concept of sexual harassment, the concept of sexual misconduct in Hollywood, the concept of the witch hunt. He did this to me. He did that to me. He molested me. He raped me. He did that. This is a breeding ground for this kind of stuff. There's alcohol. There's drugs. There's no mention of God. There's no mention of religion. There's just laughing and joking in dunya. What do you think is going to happen? He's going to look at you. You're going to look at her. You're going to interact with each other. You're going to lust. You're going to flirt. So they try to get the people out of the concept, whether it's through, as you said, the workplace, or whether it's through the concept of monogamy. No, there's no such thing as polygamy or polygyny. No way. Oh, just one woman. That's it. There is no more than one wife. Why do you need 2 wives? This has spread to the Muslims, as we've explained on our lessons on polygamy in light of the book and the sunnah. Why do you need 2 wives? Why are you so lustful, let's say? You need 2 women to sleep with? One is not enough? You need sex that much? You try to get the people into this mindset, okay? The concept of girlfriends, the concept of lovers, the concept of having a relationship, having an affair at the office. A woman, she's sleeping with a different man. The man is sleeping with a different woman, okay? All of these different things, pornography, all of these different things, They try to change the people's mindset and change the people's fitrah, okay, of the natural concept of a man liking a woman and a woman liking a man. That's natural. And it is going to happen unless the people, their minds are changed and altered, and their fitrah is changed and altered, as we clearly see. And even with that, certain things are still going to happen. So it goes to show us that the hikmah behind this legislation is the desire that is between men and women. And that's when Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, when she asked the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam about the people being resurrected, the men and the women, unclothed, uncircumcised, with bare feet. And she says, how will the men and the women be together, standing together? Won't they look at each other? Won't they think about each other? Won't they lust off of each other? And he said, no, the affair on that day was far greater than that. There's no time to think about any type of sexual desire on the last day. Okay, and we go on and on, speaking about this reality in the schools, the social media, etc. Allahul musta'an wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Khairan inshallah ta'ala. And then the Shaykh, he mentions the hadith of Aisha radiallahu anha about being asked about henna. And she said, Aisha's fatwa, well, she says, la ba'sa bihi. There's nothing wrong with it. She said, it's nothing wrong with it. It's permissible to do. Aisha, being a student of the Messenger of Allah, she says, there's nothing wrong with it. Then she goes on to explain that the reason that she says, lakin akrahu, she says, I don't like it myself. And then she explains why she doesn't like it, or perhaps why she doesn't like it. Because her Habib, her loved one, the Messenger of Allah, he didn't like it. So this hadith shows us many, many, many lessons. First lesson is, as we've explained many times before in our lessons on Al-Lu'lu' Marjan, it goes to show us هذا أسلوب من أساليب الفتوى. This is one of the styles of making a fatwa. This is one of the ways of giving a fatwa, and that is to mention the ruling first, then to mention the ta'lil or the dalil, the reason and then the proof. She says, la bas, there's nothing wrong with henna. She didn't say the hadith first, the dalil first, the asal, the qaida. She says nothing wrong with it. She gave the ruling. Then she explained, and etc. Everybody clear on this? And we've explained before, other times you can say the dalil first, then the ruling. Sometimes you can just mention the dalil without the ruling. Sometimes you can just mention the ruling without the dalil, without the reasoning, etc. There are different styles. And oftentimes you can diversify the style. And oftentimes you have to take in consideration the time that you have and the people that you're speaking with. Oftentimes you may see on the live stream Hadith Disciple marathons, many times we just mention a simple answer without the dalil, without the reasoning, without the khilaf, without this one and that one, because there's 100 questions from 20 different countries and there's only an hour and a half that we have. So we have to get it done, okay? Often, or let alone the fact that when you read the actual masail, oftentimes, not all the times, but oftentimes, Imam Ahmad is asked by his son. Imam Ahmad doesn't explain anything. لا أرى به بأسا لا يعجبني لا كذا أكره كذا لا أرى كذا لا كرهه أحمد ذمه ذما شديدا. And then sometimes he mentions the hadith, sometimes he mentions an Athar, Umar, Ali, etc. Alright, so that's a long discussion in itself. Hadith also shows us that Aisha radiallahu anha, she understood that just because the Messenger of Allah didn't like something, or he wasn't fond of a thing, doesn't mean that it's haram. It does not mean that it's haram. Nor does it mean that it is now makruh. It doesn't mean that it's now disliked. Just because the Messenger of Allah didn't like a thing of the worldly things. So this goes to show us that there are practices that the Prophet did, practices the Prophet avoided, that had nothing to do with ta'abbud, had nothing to do with worship, but it was nothing more than a worldly issue, in which the Prophet could have done it or refrained from it. And it is not haram, it is not obligatory, it is not recommended to do. Okay, such as henna. It's not haram to wear henna, it's not disliked. The Messenger of Allah, he was a human being, alayhi salatu wasalam, he didn't like the smell of henna. And many people today, they don't like the smell of henna. It bothers them or gives them an allergy or whatever the case may be. Okay, the Prophet said he didn't eat this type of meat, or he didn't drink this, or he didn't wear this. Doesn't mean that it's haram or makruh. Nor does it mean that it's recommended for a person to eat this type of food or eat this type of thing or wear this type of dress. Unless there is a specific dalil stating that has barakah in it. A specific dalil stating that Allah loves it. A specific command which the Prophet is telling the people to wear it or to eat it or to drink it. It's a shifa, it's this, it's that. Then that's a different story. Naam. And the same applies to what we've explained before with regards to the Prophet's medicine, At-Tibb al-Nabawi. And everything mentioned in Ibn al-Qayyim's book that comes from Zad al-Ma'ad is not something that is based off of spiritual blessing. It could just be something which was from the Arab culture accustomed to eat. Or it was known in Syria in the time of Ibn al-Qayyim in the 6th, 7th, 8th century. Celery doesn't mean that it's a barakah in eating celery or reward in eating celery, or celery is mandatory or recommended. No. Or is disliked. No, it doesn't mean that. They're worldly things. So it's a mistake to say that a worldly thing is now a spiritual religious thing unless there is a dalil stating that. And a simple example of this is the turban. The turban is a custom of people, whether they're Arab people, Tawarik people, Sahara, North Africa, wherever you go, okay, Persian people, it's a custom of the people. It's not a spiritual thing. But if you wear a turban because the Prophet wore one and the early Muslims wore them and the Arabs predominantly were Muslims, so on and so forth, that's what you want to look like, perhaps you get a reward in that. Bi-idhnillahi ta'ala, sunnah ta'ada. But it isn't an absolute sunnah. Wearing white, that's a different story. Because the hadith clearly says, wear white. It is the best of your clothes. Different story. The angels were wearing white. Shrouding the dead in the white. Different story. Total different story right now. So it's very important for us to understand these details. And the hadith is reported by Imam Abu Dawood. That's all that the Shaykh quotes. That's the end of the fatwa. Allah Azza wa Jalla surely knows best. We ask Him for beneficial knowledge, fiqh fi deen, and thabat alayh, firmness upon a religion. Walhamdulillah. Thank you very much for tuning in and listening.